Hi guys, welcome. Dana here from the Magic Junk Drawer, and I wanted to do another video on the law of attraction. So I think that the law of attraction can go so deep that we don't always realize it. If we are in control of everything that happens to us and we take responsibility for everything that happens to us, well, then we really have control. So let me just see if I can explain that. So I was talking to somebody today and we were discussing, say for example, you have a naturally skinny build and you want it to be very muscular. Can you think yourself into being a muscular person? If your metabolism is very high and you tend to keep weight off easily, could you change that with the power of your mind? Well, I think a couple of things here. First of all, I do think that the law of attraction is set your intention, but you also have to take action. So you are going to have to change your diet and start to work out and that kind of stuff. I think that is true. But I also think that if you think back to your beliefs, you will notice that what is happening to you is what you believe. I'll give you an example. My mom was never fat, but when she got married, she was a little bit overweight. She felt like, I'm gonna say she was probably 5'6", 5'7", and I think that she said that she was like 140 pounds, which to me doesn't even really sound like a lot. Like that sounds okay. Like it doesn't sound like a bad weight. But, you know, it's always how you feel. And looking at the pictures of her, she did look like she was a little bit chubby in her wedding album, whereas later on in her life, she was much thinner. So, after she had my brother, she had gone on Scarsdale diet, I think it was called. And my brother was born, I was 3. I was very aware that she was dieting, probably because I wasn't in school, so I was around and people would comment, oh, you look so thin. And I even remember being in the bathroom with her and telling her that, oh, you look so skinny, because I don't know if I noticed it or if I just heard people say it to her. So anyway, from a child of 3 years old, I was aware that some people could be considered heavy, some people could be considered skinny, and I was aware of it. Now, I'm gonna say that growing up, from the time I was about 3 until the time I was in junior high, I was never overweight, but I was always at the top end of my weight. So if I was supposed to be between 65 and 80 pounds, I was closer to 80 pounds. If I was supposed to be between 100 and 110 pounds, I was closer to 110. I was never on the lower end. So by the time I got into junior high, I guess I had put on some weight, or I was at least looking a little bit chubbier. And my mom didn't want me to struggle the way she did. So she sent me to Weight Watchers with a friend of mine who at the time had a weight problem. She was a lot heavier than me and we figured we would do it together. But in my head, I was in the same category as this friend of mine who had a significant amount of weight to lose. I am 5'1", or I'm almost 5'1", and in junior high, I weighed 121 pounds, and that's what I weighed in at. So I wasn't even heavy. It was like I was, 121 pounds, like that's really not heavy for 5'1". But she wanted me to learn how to manage my weight and what I could eat and what I couldn't eat and what I could get away with. And I've learned the Weight Watchers philosophy, which I believe works great when you have a lot of weight to lose, but when you only have 10 pounds, it's very difficult to follow that kind of a routine because it's not strict enough. I don't feel like it was strict enough for me. Like in order for me to have gotten down to 110 pounds back then, I think I needed to be on something stricter. And I don't think that that's necessarily healthy for a young girl at that age, 13, 14, 15, whatever it was. Anyway, I do remember that After being on Weight Watchers for some time, I got down to 116. Now 5 pounds, that's good. You know, I needed to lose 5 pounds, that's fine. But I became very conscious of always what I ate, and I always said to myself, if I ate something bad, I'm gonna get fat. I'm gonna get fat, I'm gonna get fat. Now I had plenty of friends and other girls that went to school with me. They didn't think twice about their weight. They were thinner than me. They didn't obsess about food the way I did, because I don't believe that it was called to their attention. I mean, there are other people that I just have known from school, and I always would think to myself, God, I can't believe that she doesn't have to worry about her weight the way I have to. And it's become a thing my whole life. My weight's been up and down, up and down, up and down. So now I try to look at things like, you know, I try to eat healthy. I try to exercise every day, but I try not to focus on, if I eat this, I'm going to get fat. Because I felt like, well, I could, if I look back on my life, which, like they always say, hindsight is 20/20, you can see how I was starting to take notice. At such a young age, I had to be conscious of my weight. I'm going to get fat. We don't want to be fat. My pants aren't going to fit. I have to stop eating. What does the scale say? From the time I was a little kid. Now, I've never been super obsessive to the point where it was a problem, but it was something I was always aware of. So the point is, we all know those people that say, I can eat whatever I want, I never gain an ounce. But is that true, or is it because they don't have the belief that they're going to get fat? I don't know. Like I said, I'm new to the depths of this law of attraction. That's what I'm new to. Like I've read The Secret. I listened to the CDs years ago. I knew that, you know, like attracts like, and focus on what you want. But taking it to this level is a whole other, like, depth of it, which also goes to people, what you think about people. I received last week a nasty text message, and instead of just ignoring it, I mean, I responded, and I wasn't nasty, but I showed people. I was like, do you believe that? Look at what this, ba, 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 ba. Now, what does that do? That creates more of it. So acknowledging it, it was nasty. Do you believe this? And now this perpetuates the cycle. And now I show it to this person, and I show it to that person, and then we kibitz about it. Why? Why? Because what? I wanted somebody to say to me, oh, you're right, that was so uncalled for. I wanted someone to agree with me. Do I really need somebody to agree with me? I know what's nasty and what's not. So I stopped that behavior. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to give it any more energy, and maybe things will change. And I have to tell you that I did hear from this person a few days later with a much different attitude. So I don't know if there's something to it, or if it just happened to be a coincidence. And then there's also, when you're dealing with text messages and emails, sometimes it's just very hard to tell if somebody is being nasty or they're just being very short because they're in a situation where they don't have a lot of time to explain it. You know, not everyone always has the time to say, hey, how are you? I hope all is well, and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it was just, I took it out of context and it wasn't meant to be as nasty as it came off. But the bottom line is rather than talking about it and cultivating more of that, ignore it. And we'll see if things can start to change. So can you control somebody else's behavior? No, you can't control somebody else's behavior, but maybe they are just reflecting back to you what you believe about them. And maybe they're just the player. So if you tend to have these beliefs like, oh, maybe he would like me if I had a better paying job, then maybe that's just the universe reflecting that back to you with, oh yeah, you know, like maybe it's being shown to you because that's a belief. Maybe that person is just a player, and it really has nothing to do with them. It has to do with your belief about them. You see where I'm going with this? I know it's very hard. It's hard for me to explain it. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around it because I'm not exactly sure of what's going on. Like, in other words, we used to say, oh, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, maybe all these years we thought that the egg came first, but it really was the chicken, or vice versa. Like, this person is reflecting back what you believe about them. Oh, he would like me if I had blonde hair because he liked blondes. But then sometimes you turn around and 5 years later, you see him with so-and-so, and you're like, well, what is he doing with her? She's not a blonde. And then you realize that this reality was not the case. You had that feeling about yourself, but that person didn't have the belief for themselves. For example, how many times have we said, what is that guy doing with that girl? He's so gorgeous and she's so ugly. Well, that's my belief, but maybe she doesn't see herself that way. Maybe she thinks that she's drop dead gorgeous, so he thinks that. She thinks she's worthy of him, and that's what's being reflected back at her. So it's very interesting when you start looking at it on such a big, broad level that it is so much deeper than we even thought to begin with. So this is just, things to play around with, different thoughts, to play around with. I remember years ago when The Secret came out, and Rhonda Byrne said, I always think of myself as being the perfect weight. Well, one of my very good friends that was listening to it with me, he said to me, he goes, all right, I always think of myself as being the perfect weight. Next year at this time, I'll be in maternity clothes. That's what he said, and that was his belief. And that would have been my belief too, because I don't believe at this current period in my life that I can eat whatever I want and not gain weight. I don't believe that. I would like to believe it. I try to work towards it, but I'm not there yet. So please feel free to leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, because I'm kind of on the fence about these things too. This is just what I'm starting to learn from studying it and going a step further. So if you like what we're doing here at the Magic Junk Drawer, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.